it over and over, driving themselves and those around them crazy. Their problem has a name: obsessive-compulsive disorder. 1 in every 40 Americans is affected, and we all have a touch of this. But tonight, Lynn Scher brings you some of their stories and word of a promising new treatment for this very odd disorder.
When I first met Edward Glazer here in Los Angeles, he was doing something most of us do daily: buying the local newspaper.
Do you want one too?
No, not for now, thanks. But then he bought another, and another, and it became clear he wasn't just trying to catch up on current events.
I would get up every morning and I would buy 5, 6, 7 different papers. I would most likely just take them home, read them for about maybe 5, 10 minutes till I got tired, and then just put them down and never touch them again.
Buying and saving newspapers is a compulsion he can't resist. Edgy, as his friends call him, also can't resist garage sales or the trinkets and toys he finds on the sidewalk or in trash cans. His compulsion is so out of control, it results in this: living on top of what even he calls a landfill. And that's after just the last 2 years of hoarding.
I'll give you an example. If an obsession...
Blue Headley of nearby Venice, California, was tortured by an onslaught of equally irrational compulsions. He couldn't drive his car without stopping to check if he'd hit someone.
So I would look real closely, and the anxiety right now, it's real strong. It's saying, there's somebody lying there dead. There's
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for a dead body.
There's nothing here. Opening the mail meant inspecting every inch of every envelope to make sure he hadn't missed something. One of his most debilitating obsessions?
I open it up. And
Constantly thinking he'd locked the neighbor's cat in his refrigerator.
What my obsession makes me do is name everything in the refrigerator to prove that the cat's not there. So I would have to say, okay, that's Arm & Hammer baking soda. It's not a cat, it's baking soda. It's not living, it's not breathing, it's not going to die.
So you'd have to go through every
single item in the refrigerator. But usually I have to go back again. Do the same thing over and over again. And then again. And again.
For both of these men, the illness driving this bizarre behavior is obsessive-compulsive disorder, or OCD, unwanted intrusive thoughts that force them into constant repetitive rituals. Until now, traditional medical treatment, drugs, or behavior therapy has failed them. But a recently developed program is bringing new hope to 5 million OCD sufferers. Dr. Jeffrey Schwartz of UCLA claims that by using his treatment, patients can fight their OCD and beat it. What's new is that the patients do it all by themselves with little or no medication. Even more startling, he says they can virtually rewire their own brains in the process.
You know, it's not just an external manipulation by medicine or surgery that needs to be done to change the body. The person themselves can change the body. Even after they're ill, they can change the physical problem that's causing the ailment.
The ailment can destroy their lives. Listen to Edgy's story. He is a hoarder who's had OCD since he was a child. A lonely child who found it hard to make friends.
It was easier to make friends with inanimate objects. Books, magazines, they inform you, they educate you, and they never leave unless you choose to make them go away.
Do you find it uncomfortable living with all this stuff around you?
I would find it uncomfortable not having it.
I have to tell you, Edgy, this pile of books and magazines and newspapers has got to be 3 feet high. Aren't you worried about sanitary conditions?
No.
With all this stuff here?
No.
You're not? Living with OCD for most of his 47 years has led Edgy to pain and despair.
It has brought me to the brink of insanity. It has brought me to the brink of contemplating suicide more than once.
While Edgy's OCD symptoms are somewhat rare, Jeff Venglass has a much more common form, but equally severe. Jeff is a counter.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1.
For reasons no one understands, his OCD makes him count in sets of 4. Anything he touches, the counting sets in.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3.
Anything he passes, windows, doors. The counting ritual takes control.
3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
The rituals are everywhere I go in every aspect of my life. There's a ritual. If I have to walk out the door, I'm counting as I go out the doorway. If I'm brushing my teeth, I'm counting. If I'm doing my hair, I'm counting.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2,
Everything
3.
is done in the exact same order every day.
Jeff, like about half of all adults with OCD, began showing symptoms as a child. He's 22 now, and his OCD has gotten progressively worse. So bad, in fact, that 3 weeks ago he lost his job and is about to run out of health insurance.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
People with OCD are just trapped. You know these things are just asinine, but you have to do them.
What would happen if you didn't count? What would happen if you didn't complete the rituals?
The mass sense of anxiety of something horrible is going to happen would just be overwhelming.
What's horrible? What might happen?
I guess I have a fear of death.
Jeff's compulsions got so overpowering that his wife, Melissa, was dragged into doing the rituals with him.
I was counting everything. Before I left, I had to kiss him 32 times.
Well, show me how that worked. Tell me, give me, just go over the little routine.
See, that would be 32 times.
We learned to kiss really fast.
Jeff doesn't have much hope that he'll ever get better, particularly in a world where few people understand or care about his problem. The most common reaction? Why don't you just stop?
If I could just stop, don't you think I would have 10 years ago? I think probably in the last 10 years, I've probably wasted 2 or 3 years of my life doing these rituals. That's just wasted time.
It is that extraordinary self-awareness that Dr. Jeffrey Schwartz uses to help OCD patients cure themselves. He says the most exciting result of his research is the evidence that changing their behavior actually changes the way their brains work. You're saying that these patients are literally changing the chemistry of the brain themselves?
Yes, absolutely. We have now strong scientific data that is totally consistent with that. People are changing their own brain chemistry.
He says this is the proof. PET scans, color-enhanced images of the brain in action, before and after Dr. Schwartz's treatment for OCD. Like most experts, he believes there's a chemical imbalance in a certain area of the brain that occurs in patients with OCD. He says the structures in this area of the brain overheat, that's the yellow section, and act as if they're literally locked together. He calls it brain lock. That brain lock causes inappropriate urges to become stuck in the brain, so they occur over and over and over again. After patients go through his self-treatment approach, Schwartz says, the brain cools down, that's the blue area, and the OCD symptoms diminish. Dr. Schwartz has now written a book claiming this is the first scientific evidence that behavior therapy can change the brain the same way medication does.
I feel like Schwartz gave me ammunition. He gave me weapons to fight it. Now I get to use them.
Blue Headley, aspiring author and actor, went through Dr. Schwartz's program and is convinced he has found the road to a cure.
Schwartz is he's a very enthusiastic guy, and he knows everything there is to know about OCD. And he said that, you know, that he had the cure.
Did he cure you?
I am curing myself.
Remember his obsessions, including the one about locking the cat in the refrigerator? Now he's over all of them, and he says he did it with 4 specific steps he's recorded in this little notebook that's with him at all times. Step 1, when an obsession invades, relabel the thought. In other words, when Blue thinks the cat is locked away, he recognizes that's not true.
Right away I know that's an obsession, so I rename it. That's an obsession. And then I do the second step, which is reattribute.
Reattribute. That means put the blame where it belongs, not on himself, but on the chemical imbalance in his brain. Step 3, refocus. Instead of acting on the compulsion, do something else, something pleasurable. This is the most critical step. Blue says he accomplished this one by burying himself in the screenplay he is writing.
And the anxiety is strong, really strong, like paralyzing. I was extremely anxious all the time and always feeling lost.
It is during this step, Dr. Schwartz says, that the patient is actually changing the brain through behavior. In 2 to 3 months, with practice, the urges greatly diminish and become controllable. Step 4, revalue. As the urges are brought under control, the patient comes to realize that the OCD thoughts are unimportant and meaningless. Dr. Schwartz cautions that the only way a patient will succeed is with self-will and strong motivation.
These people have to work. There is such an amount of self-observation, thinking things through, and then making a new decision about how to act on the feeling your brain is sending you.
Compared to mainstream treatments, which are about 75% effective, Dr. Schwartz says his program works equally well, but is far more accessible to patients, since they don't have to rely on therapists or drugs once they've learned the 4 steps. And while it doesn't make all the obsessions go away, it does make them more manageable over a lifetime. That's why Jeff Venglass is so eager to try the program, to end the agony that has plagued his life. And it's why Blue Headley is so enthusiastic about how it's helped him. Now he's full of confidence, able to concentrate on a new career. As for Edgy, he also participated in the 4-step program. He says he's improved, but it's been more of a struggle. Although he can't yet bring himself to dispose of his acquisitions, he brings home far less now, and he's gained an insight into his illness that never occurred to him before.
I have to consciously every day decide, do I want to continue letting the OCD control my life, or regain control of my life and not act on the impulses?
It's a fight every day. You have to psych yourself up every day. And Schwartz has a way of doing that. He has a Buddhist saying, though 1,000 times 1,000 men are conquered in battle, the one who conquers himself is truly the master of the battle. If I want to have a better life, I have to do this. It's that simple.
If this is a chemical imbalance, Lynn, wouldn't drugs do it? Take care of it?
Barbara, they just don't work for everybody. Don't forget, there is no cure for this. It's just that some combination of drugs and or behavior therapy, for the majority of people, helps them to manage it very successfully, but there's no cure.
Do other doctors agree that you can consciously change your actual brain?
No. As a matter of fact, this is a very controversial claim. Other neuroscientists say that what Dr. Schwartz is describing is simply the brain changing itself. A mental process can't do it. Dr. Schwartz respectfully disagrees. He says through behavior, his OCD patients are willfully rewiring the circuitry. So there is a controversy.
Well, we all have a little bit of this.